Time for another wrestling podcast.
All right. Are you fucking kidding me?
Guys, I got blocked again on Twitter.
I'm your mark of marks.
That's the most reliable source on the interwebs.
The social assassin at your disposal, bitches.
All right. Welcome to episode 237.
Now we're talking.
I'm your Mark of Marks, Credo.
I'm the social assassin, angry cooter, at your disposal, bitches.
And I'm back from parts unknown. Minority Mike here. Ready
What's
to
up
rock
with
and roll.
fucking parts unknown? I get douche chills whenever somebody says that.
Also known as
Parts
Captain
unknown.
America to you ladies in Poughkeepsie out there on Halloween season.
Yeah, I ran around in my Captain America outfit. I got some pretty interesting stories, but that's for the
Patreon account, baby. Patreon.
Guys,
Guys,
rock and roll. BMF title. Let's go.
BMF, man. So I'm confused. So I don't know the history of UFC championships. I know there was like a featherweight, a lightweight, a heavyweight, or whatever weight. I don't know. But so like it wasn't too weird for me to hear about it. I was like, oh, BMF, bad motherfucking title, right? So I was like, all right, that's cool. But then I'm like, wait a minute. Are they like turning into the WWE? What's happening? Is this their 24/7 championship? I'm confused about the BMF title. Somebody explain it.
All right, so basically, and Cooter will definitely relate to this. Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal, for those people who don't know, those are two bad motherfuckers.
Yes.
Those guys will go to war. They do a lot of trash talking, and they back it up in the ring. I mean, a guy like Nate Diaz, I think you have to shoot him in the head in order to stop him, unless you're a New York doctor, but we'll get to that in a minute. Basically, Nate Diaz called out Jorge Masvidal. He said there's no gangsters in this sport except for Jorge Masvidal, but he ain't no West Coast gangster. That was the exact quote. The internet took that by storm. And then they were going back and forth on Twitter, and Jorge Masvidal just said, let's make this happen, and let's just make a BMF title and fight for that. That right there blew up. Dana White saw that and was like, hey, I have to sell out the Garden. Let's fucking do this, because let's face it, right now, I mean, I love the UFC, but they are not doing that well financially. I mean, they don't have a Conor McGregor putting asses in seats. They don't have a Ronda Rousey anymore.
They got nothing.
They got no stars. They're building stars right now. They were the WWE back in like 95 when they're in that young generation trying to build. Oh. And that's where they are right now. So
the BMF
they basically created the BMF title, and it sold out the Garden. Wow. And I was fully invested into this. I thought it was amazing.
Or did The Rock sell out the Garden? Did anybody know?
I'll tell you something like this. I mean, this is different. It's the MMA fans. I mean, a lot of the MMA fans were cool to see The Rock, but I don't think they cared that much that it was The Rock. I think just like Nate Diaz said, I think if anybody should have brought that title out, it should have been Mike Tyson, because that's the baddest motherfucker right there.
Especially in the Garden.
Yeah, especially. But the BMF title, the fight was great up until the championship rounds, and the refs stopped it because of a cut that Diaz had that wasn't even that bad, in my opinion. I mean, it was a bad cut, but I've seen him at worse.
If you're going to win the BMF title, there should be a bloodbath. Don't stop it for, it should be the baddest motherfucker, right? You got to prove yourself.
And Nate Diaz is the type of guy, too, for those listeners who don't know, who don't follow MMA. I mean, he was getting owned for the first 3 rounds, but when you get into those championship rounds, those 4th and 5 rounds, that's when Nate Diaz really turns it up. So Nate Diaz, something could have possibly happened there. I don't necessarily think he would have beat Masvidal, but anything can happen, especially with a guy like Diaz.
There's always money in the rematch.
Yeah, well, that ain't happening.
No rematch ain't happening.
And I got my own suspicions, man. I smell a conspiracy, but that's just me, because I can't stand New York. There's just certain stars that New York is loyal to, and that kind of maybe puts the kibosh on a certain fight. But I think because of this, you're not getting a Diaz-McGregor 3.
I'll tell you this from experience: the New York State Athletic Commission is the most sensitive and most annoying commissions to deal with out of any state I've ever fought for. They are like literally, if you're having trouble making weight, any states will kind of bend the rules a little bit. New York State, they're just so new into the game that they're just so hardcore with everything. That cut, if this fight was happening in Vegas, that fight would have continued.
They are strict. They are strict too with pro wrestling, because I know when they do shows in Poughkeepsie, like there's got to be mats down. There's got to be, like to the T of, they got to cross their T's, dot their I's, and they don't fool around. That's why nobody likes doing anything in New York, because
I don't think they know what the fuck they're doing. If that was a boxing match, there's no way it would have been stopped. No fucking way.
Man.
Oh, because they got the standing 8 counts and all that shit in boxing.
Conspiracy theory. Well, either way, welcome, guys. I do want to say, stay tuned, because Terri Runnels is going to be joining JB. She's back. We're having her on again. If you didn't know, she was doing Cigar, Scars, and Superstars, but it's on a new platform, if you will. It's on DLive.tv. You can find her at the Terri Runnels, so check her out over there. She's doing like a live webcam shows and stuff, so it's pretty good.
Not like Sunny, but
not like Sunny. Not like Sunny. She has more class. Terri, I think, has more class. So definitely check her out. But she will be joining us later talking. And if you didn't tune in, she kind of already did the show. So when Jonathan did the interview with her, it was streaming live on her show. So some of the fans over there got to hear like a live AWP, if you will, interview. And now you get to kind of hear the replay on this one. But either way, we're happy to have Terri back on. Guys, a lot of things have happened since Mike's been out. Cooter, we talked up the Crown Jewel, and then it happened. Then there's plane problems and so on and so forth. Let's kind of get some 2 cents out of this. What did you guys think about it overall? And is it worth the trouble that it was? Or, I mean, I feel like the 2 heavily promoted matches were the 2 duds of the night. Can we go into that? Because this was supposed to draw them in. This was supposed to draw the fans in. They made... Was it? I mean, out of Cain Velasquez, 2 minutes? Come on.
I loved it.
The count out by Tyson Fury? Come on.
Oh, come on. Why are you whining? You're going to be that guy.
You did not like it. Come on.
I was thoroughly entertained by that entire... Fuck you, Credo.
Not entertained?
And you know what? Go back to the group chat, which should only be seen by the 3 of us. And I was saying, dude, you know what? Tyson Fury, not looking too bad. I mean, he's looking pretty good. He did a hell of a lot more than we all thought he was going to actually do.
He was gassed.
He actually wrestled a fucking match. What's that?
He was gassed. He was out of breath.
Oh, you're gassed. You're fucking gassed. Fucking talking.
It should have been a boxing match.
I think Tyson Fury needs a little more time at the PC. I think this whole thing was rushed with Tyson Fury. I think that's something that you give him a little more time training and he'll be better. I didn't think he was terrible. I didn't think he was amazing. I didn't think he was that great. I mean, there's a lot of spots that he botched. I loved his entrance, though. I thought that was a great entrance.
Yeah, Cooter, you said, I think we talked about this last week too, though. I mean, he did a wrestling match, and I guess there was ways to protect him so he didn't get hurt for boxing. But even if they did like a boxing, whatever kind of match to where it wasn't exactly real, if it was, worked boxing
brawl
match.
For all.
Yeah, do you think that would have been better for him? I mean, I don't know. I don't think I wanted to even see him in a wrestling match. I figure, use his gimmick. He's a boxer. Make him box Braun, right? I don't know.
I'll tell you this right now. The fact that I think the reason why they just threw him in a wrestling match because it was talked about all over ESPN. I listened to Sirius XM Fight Nation, like the Luke Thomas show, MMA Tonight, all that stuff. That's all they talked about was Tyson Fury. All the boxing channels on Sirius XM, they talked about this match in Saudi Arabia, Tyson Fury. People that weren't fans of professional wrestling actually tuned in to watch Tyson Fury wrestle.
Do a shot every time he says Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury.
You know what? We've seen a lot worse fucking cameos from, stars from outside sports in
That's
that
true.
fucking
That
ring.
is true.
For a first match on a big stage like that, he really didn't do that bad. You got to give the man some credit.
Sure.
As for Cain Velasquez, everyone's like, what are you laughing at? I don't have a problem with it.
No.
Listen, his fight with Brock didn't go much longer. Let's be very honest. They tried to work that match as if it was an MMA fight. And I didn't have a problem with it. They played to Cain Velasquez's strengths. They made it look more like a shoot fight. And you know what? He got a little bit of a knockdown there. It looked like he was going to finish the fight. And they told a great story. Brock went for that fucking knee, kicked that knee out from under him, the injured one, caught him in the Kimura, tapped him. I don't have a problem with that. It's a hell of a lot longer than Kofi Kingston last. Hey, give Brock Lesnar some credit. He went in there and did more than just a fucking F5. But no, you still want to sit there and bitch like a little girl.
I agree with Cooter. I actually enjoyed it. Because I come from the MMA world, so it kind of looked like a sparring match. And, Kane with those high head kicks, they look so perfect.
Yeah.
And then the way he just caught Lesnar right in the head and Lesnar fall, like that happens in MMA with those head kicks.
This isn't MMA, it's pro wrestling. I want more than 2 minutes out of my opener
you know what?
match.
Those kicks looked a hell of a lot better than watching fucking rabbit punches from Shane McMahon. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, that's true.
I gotta say, I said this a couple weeks before. I say it again. I think Fox, they want that sports-like feel, and that match, we got a sports-like kind of a competition right there.
That is true. And what's funny is I read after is like how much did Brock make for his 2 minutes out there? I'm trying to look up the exact numbers because it was like 1.5 million or something, some ridiculous thing like number. I'm like, man, I really wish like how do you become Brock Lesnar's lifestyle? Like kick some people's asses, become the heavyweight champion of UFC, and then just fucking go to the WWE and make millions of dollars for every match. Like,
and you get to go home right after your fight. Look at that. Not like
on your own jet where you don't get held over.
We got time. We're gonna get you in the gym. You already got the height. We're gonna get you some juice, some steroids. We're gonna beef you up, and we're just gonna send you. And you're just gonna start suplexing motherfuckers. I'll teach you how to suplex dudes, and then just take it from there.
We're gonna split the money, guys. We're gonna be we'll have our own entourage. It'll be great. We'll be living off of my fightings, my earnings. We got this, guys. But
yeah, you have Cooter. Cooter will be your Paul Heyman.
The mouthpiece. I love it. We're doing it, guys. Or the package deal right here. Now, what did you think about all the Saudi plane problems? Because I know it's Mike. What is it from? The interwebs talking, right? It's a lot of hearsay. I don't know if like there's WWE wrestlers texting their friends so that they will tell somebody. I doubt that happens. But like, there's a lot of hearsay. A lot of reporters have sources or whatever within the WWE. But like, I feel like we're never going to know what really happened. And then there was a whole thing backstage where Vince, they had a staff meeting, and what I think the guys from Busted Open were saying, or Meltzer was saying that Seth Rollins is having a rah-rah speech of trying to like, don't tell people what exactly happened or something. I don't know. What did you think about these plane problems? Because it was just like one big conspiracy theory that Vince cut the feed 40 minutes. It was like a 40-minute delay for people in Saudi Arabia. I'm like, what is going on? And then the next night they signed like a new deal till 2027. So it's like you hear from all these different sides of conspiracy theories and whatnot. What do you guys believe?
Well, I heard Corey Graves on his podcast speak about this, and he just kind of said that all the rumors that we've heard are just, from his understanding, are completely false and everything. Well, I read stuff on the interwebs that, the Saudi police told people to get off the plane. I read other things that apparently Vince just booked it and abandoned everybody. I read so much stuff. Corey Graves pretty much made it clear that, after every show, Vince is always the first person to leave regardless of what day of the week it is. He's always out the door on his jet and gone. So that's basically what happened in Saudi. He was out the door on the jet and gone. If that's how it played out, I wasn't there. I don't know, but that's what someone that was there said. He also talked about I don't know if you guys saw that the hashtag, the not top 20 or the top 20 hashtag that a lot of superstars were saying. Basically, they took the top 20 guys and put them on another charter flight and tried to get them out of there as soon as possible. Apparently, from what Corey Graves said, they took the people that were advertised for SmackDown the next day and tried to get them out of there as soon as possible. And I guess that wasn't communicated to a lot of the other guys, so that just caused a rift. A lot of people were talking about the Saudi government held everybody up. Honestly, and at Cooter, we talked about this. I think if the Saudi government really wanted to hold you up, I think you wouldn't be home anytime soon.
Yeah, come on. This is all a bunch of bullshit. What did I say in the chat, boys? What did I say? It's probably some AEW virgin fanboy who fucking made some shit up. It's what it sounds like to me. I hate saying it like that, but hey, you know what? Fucking rumors are just rumors. And you know what? If it was really, like Mike said, if it was really a problem, there's no way they would have been leaving that country, period. Vince might have come home with his head in the box.
There's a lot of great stories. I mean, I'm looking at Forbes.com right now, not to plug anything, but I mean, I'm just reading a whole article about how a lot of people, they're changing like the payday for wrestlers out there, and it's saying, following the controversy from Crown Jewel, a slew of major names, including Roman Reigns, Kofi Kingston, Braun Strowman, reportedly told Vince that they will not be going back to Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of. That's just like one story from a major site. I mean, there's a lot of things going out there of what people are doing or what's going on. But literally, they announced the next night after all this controversy, and I'm not going to go through the whole deal. But long story short, saying something that they're going to partner with them till 2027, doing shows. And I mean, it's up to like at least twice a year. This is going to become part of WWE now until 2027. I mean, if they're getting a lot of money out there, but if this really happened and it was such a big deal, the next show they do, who knows, I don't know, after WrestleMania next year or whenever they're going to do it, if a lot of people don't go, if a lot of superstars pull out, then I feel like it's more legitimate about something that happened. But if these superstars pull out, is the Crown Jewel going to be the B team NXT superstars?
I was gonna say it's gonna be main evented by Sin Cara and fucking.
They're just gonna get the one guy from NXT that he doesn't wrestle on any NXT shows or any main roster shows. He only wrestles on the Saudi shows. What is it, Mansoor? Mansoor, yeah. He doesn't wrestle on anything else. He just wrestles on the Saudi cards.
Hey, Jordan Miles.
I know it's gonna be
Jordan Miles.
Mansoor versus Jordan Miles. Exactly. You beat me to it.
Jordan Miles, I know we've been through a rough patch.
You motherfucker, you.
Jordan Miles, I know we've been through a rough patch, but listen, buddy, I think you're ready to main event, and just wait for it in Saudi Arabia. Come on now, right? I can see it now. Anyway, well, let's not get into Jordan Miles.
Imagine that. Oh man.
Regardless, we don't know what happened, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on. But I think the next trip, the next Saudi Arabia event that they announced, that's when you have to really kind of see who's not going and how they're going to actually build this, because they're going to probably pay $50 million to Hogan and Flair to fucking have one last match or some shit out there. Regardless, guys, Survivor Series though is shaping up. It's now going to have NXT featured this year, so NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown. With that whole plane controversy, we saw NXT step it up on Friday Night SmackDown, and honestly, guys, that was the best SmackDown I've seen in a while. I didn't mind seeing these NXT guys on SmackDown. It gave them that platform to people who aren't watching on Wednesdays, maybe being like, who's this? Who's that? Like, it put them, right in center of the Fox audience, I guess, if you want to say, of NXT. What happened? I mean, bravo to them, though, for, the show must go on. A lot of these guys that were stuck in Saudi Arabia or whatnot, they were able to fly these guys, and from what I understand, it was last minute, too. Like, they literally just arrived at the arena right before Shayna went out there on SmackDown and beat up Bayley and all that stuff. So, they weren't there all day training and practicing, you know what I mean? So it was like a lot of last-minute stuff, but they did it. What did you guys think about this, and are you excited for Survivor Series now that NXT is a part of the fold?
The greatest thing for me with a lot of the NXT guys is proof that not every little thing needs to be micromanaged and scripted. So when you see somebody like Tommaso Ciampa go out there and make the Miz stutter on his words without a fucking script in front of him, oh my God, that was some damn good fucking television. I'm just saying, the Miz is somebody who always seems unflappable on the mic, like kind of how John Cena was. And here we are, some new blood coming in there, fucking cutting a promo and, getting somebody choked up a little bit. Just not only on the mic, but in the ring, all these guys, they're just top notch. They're hungry. And that's what the main roster seems to be missing from my perspective, is just people who are hungry, who want to be on TV, who wanted to be the best at every aspect of wrestling business.
Speaking of best, how about Adam Cole fucking main eventing SmackDown, main eventing Raw, and main eventing NXT? What a week for him, man. I mean, that's why he has the championship. The man can step it up. He could face anybody kind of on any show or whatever. I keep laughing in the back of my head though, because literally we had the draft. Everybody's going to be separated rosters, and now they're like a week later. There's Invasion that they're invading each other's shows.
I saw this happening. I saw this happening.
No, we just had the draft, and I was like, 1 week went by where everybody was on the shows, and then boom, next week. I'm like, it's only been a week.
I literally said that too. I was like, you know what, man? Because historically they've always done SmackDown versus Raw for these Survivor Series matches, so we're still gonna get some inter-promotional matches. It's fucking ridiculous, but it's good to see NXT get thrown in a mix.
No, my favorite thing of the whole thing, of the whole show too, was Pat McAfee.
Oh, good God, yes.
He was great with all the stuff. He kept repeating it. November 1st, 2019 is the greatest night ever. The greatest SmackDown in history. He kept repeating that. And one of the funniest things, I don't know if you guys caught this, but when Triple H was out there and Stephanie McMahon comes out, she's blowing a kiss to Triple H, and you look standing behind Triple H as Pat McAfee standing up waving to Stephanie. I loved it. He was great.
I was very surprised about how good he was as a commentator, though.
Well, he does, and I was mistaken. I thought he did Monday Night Football, but he does Thursday Night Football.
Oh, I would love to see him with Vic Joseph on the mic.
Wait a minute. What happened to what's his name? He was out there for like a match, and then like he was replaced by him or something.
In English.
That was so funny. I didn't even realize it for like the longest time. And I think Mike, you commented on our Facebook thing.
I put it up. I was just like, it was kind of weird that he was gone. I mean, but after listening to Pat McAfee explain the whole story, I think Aiden was just there, just waiting for McAfee to get there. A lot of people were like, they took him off because he called Shayna Baszler the Queen of
Hearts. Yeah,
but that wasn't it. I guess he was just there taking the place until Pat McAfee got there, because apparently he didn't get there until Lesnar was leaving the ring.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of the NXT talent didn't get there too until Lesnar's promo was done.
Man, I give him so much credit, though, for that last-minute show. I mean, when you thought it was going to be a disaster, it turned out to be one of their best SmackDowns. And I don't know, I thought SmackDown was actually a lot better than Raw as far as, because it had that surprise factor of we were like, what are they going to do now that nobody's there? I like seeing him on I like seeing him on Raw, the NXT crew and all that too. But I don't know, I thought SmackDown had the bigger, I don't know, surprise, I guess, factor, if you will. But guys, a lot of things we've been talking about every week was with AEW versus NXT. Which show was better? What show is doing what? Every week now, Facebook doesn't fail to show me that the ratings war is out. But one thing I did notice this week, I know a lot of things were down last week with the World Series, but this week, they're calling out numbers. It was 813,000 NXT to AEW's 822,000. It's getting closer. NXT is getting a lot closer to AEW. Do you think, and I know ratings don't mean much, I know we talked a lot about it, but that's a big difference, and they're really close now as far as numbers go. Do you think people are starting to drop off with AEW? Because I'll tell you the truth, man. I watched NXT this week and I watched AEW, and I still thought NXT was a lot better to me. AEW, I'm starting to get that. I'm waiting until something new happens. Or I mean,
yeah. Here's the problem.
I'm already drowning on it.
Well, a lot of people are, and I think the reason is it's the lack of a roster. You're starting to see a lot of the same old shit. Listen, there's a lot of good to that show.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I don't want to sound like I'm hating on it too.
Chris Jericho on the mic and some of the packages. That package that you sent me him with with the Virgil thing, I was fucking dying. All right,
that was one of the best things that night. Yes.
Okay, dude, anything that Cody touches or is involved with is gold. But I think a lot of the stuff is being overstated. Like I heard somebody say that promo we cut, which was amazing, it was a great promo. They were comparing it to Dusty's Hard Times, and that's not even in the same category. If you ask me, it was a great promo, for a build up, for a go home show, for a pay per view. It is what it is. NXT keeps me tuned in because I look forward to each and every week. I want to know, you know, the story, what's going to happen. Whereas in AEW, I feel like everything is just got to try to be a 5-star match, and you know, everything's got to be a 5-star 20-30 minute match, and it's just too much. You know, it's got that New Japan where you have to kick out of fucking 60 finishers and then win with a small package. It makes no fucking sense to me. Just the match layouts, the ring psychology. It's too much for me. I feel like I like my wrestling old school. I'm a Jim Cornette kind of guy. I am.
Well, you did bring up a point, though, about his promo. Everybody was talking about how much they loved it. You know, one of the things that made it so good is that it wasn't scripted. It's from, you know, from the gut, from the heart, whatever. You know, it was on the spot, and that's what wrestling used to be. It doesn't matter if he remembered his lines. He just has to tell it in the moment, and I thought he told it good. And that's why I love when you can curse like that, to where it's not have to be fuck, whatever. You know, just the use of curse words made it feel real in the moment, and that's what was great about it. But Mike, you mentioned online that this is kind of similar to maybe an NWA storyline they just did recently. Can you explain that?
So once again, I don't want to take away from Cody's promo. I thought it was an amazing promo. I really liked it. I've been really actually invested into the storyline between Kenny and Jericho. I thought it was great. I look forward to their match. But he said something that if he
say
loses,
Kenny and Jericho?
I did say Kenny. I apologize. I meant Cody and Jericho.
Cody and Jericho. Okay.
Yeah. He said something in the beginning of his promo that just like kind of like it didn't ruin it for me, but it just kind of made me think. Where he says, "If I lose to Jericho, I will never wrestle for the AEW title again." And that just kind of like, first of all, the first thing that popped in my head, because I watch NWA Power every week, and they just did that storyline about 2 weeks ago with Tim Storm that if he lost to Nick Aldis, he can never challenge for the NWA title again. So that's the first thing that I thought about. And then the second thing I thought about was this company really debuted a month ago, and you're already calling those type of shots right now. It's still so early. So it just boggles my mind that like you're either A, guaranteeing that Cody's going to win this week, or B, that he's going to win by disqualification in some way.
And, you know, you brought up a great point too, because it's not like it's a ladder match that like every promotion has it. Not too many times has there been a match where they say they'll never go for that championship again. It's like a rarity stipulation. So that close apart, I mean, somebody's watching something, somebody saw, somebody mentioned it, be like, oh, that would probably be a good idea. It could be. I mean, I agree with you, because like people will bite off other things, and for something that rare, it's maybe too coincidental.
Other than that, the promo was great. I thought, you know, for a lot of people who didn't know, that Jericho vignette, that package was making fun of Cody, because Cody literally had that same package a couple weeks ago, but it was more serious. And then Jericho made fun of it, which I thought was fucking priceless. The second I saw Virgil, oh my god!
No, you gotta use the proper name, bro.
It was his name.
Jones.
What was it?
Soul something Jones?
Soul Train Jones or
Soul Train Jones?
Something like that. Yeah, the second I saw Virgil, I immediately had to get a hold of Cooter. Immediately. And
he
then
says Jericho's talent is like Olive Garden breadsticks. It's unlimited.
And then the best part is they got some random old lady in there. Something Bopsky was her last name. It was priceless. And then how he just like walked up to Sammy Guevara and just gave him a kiss on the head and walked away.
Jericho did that right at the beginning. Once I saw that, I said, "What the fuck is going on here? Yeah. We have two different types of the bubbly."
I think what it is, if you didn't see the Cody vignette, you have to watch. You have to watch that one first, and then watch the Jericho one, and then you'll understand it all completely.
Yeah, I did, but it was just you didn't get it right away until you realized that he was making fun of it. So I mean, it took like a few different clips, and then I'm like, oh, he's just fucking ribbing right now. Yeah, it was really good.
But one thing I want to throw out there real quick, and I did send this to you guys in our little chat, is they did this countdown show, the AEW Countdown to Full Gear, And I actually really enjoyed it. And for those listening, if you guys haven't checked it out, go watch it, because it kind of gives you like they highlight the main matches in there. I think the two main matches, and then a couple other ones. But it kind of feels like a UFC countdown show, where it just gives you that big fight feel. And that's some stuff that I always wanted to see the WWE do, but they never did. And AEW is doing it, and I actually really enjoyed it. So definitely check that out. That's my must watch this week.
Well, you bring up a good point though about that. I just want to say real quick is that they're doing something different. That big fight feel, especially now on Tuesdays, they have the dark Tuesday night shows on YouTube or whatever, to where they'll show the dark matches on YouTube. And I mean, I always read about dark matches on WWE, and it's like, oh, I would have loved to have seen that. And I know sometimes like they can't show it or whatever, they don't show, but if they keep doing stuff that WWE isn't doing, that's great. And like I said before, I don't hate them. I'm watching it, but I just feel like I've already seen it now almost. You know what I mean? I'm getting to that point where I know the roster. I know when I've seen who's on TV, I could fast forward, or I don't really want to watch this. I don't know. I'm just at that point. I don't think the women division is really that anything to watch yet. I know there's a lot of growing pains, and I'm not trying to put them down because I like it. But I don't know. Those numbers, like I said earlier, they're starting to get close. Now I'm kind of curious what next week's going to bring. I don't know. Maybe there's people just. I mean, if WWE starts bringing those, Finn Balor's, AJ Styles, just crossing over on the NXT with what they're doing, could be different numbers next week. That's what I'm trying to say. So, but guys, stay tuned because Terri Runnels is joining us again with Jonathan, who's going to sit down with her right now. I have nothing else to go to.
I have something. I meant to bring it up earlier. I'm going to ask you guys one question. You guys have to give me answers straight through. Okay. Out of all the shows this week, starting from Friday up until today, name one thing of your highlight of the week.
Ooh.
One thing that stood out to you the most. I'm going to tell you mine right now. Was that sit down between Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch.
I was literally thinking that.
I thought that was amazing. I don't even care if Bayley's in the match. That's the match I want to see.
That's a good one. I don't know. For me, off the top, I keep going back to Matt Riddle and what's his name? The Glory.
Keith Lee?
Glory. Yeah, Keith Lee, to where Keith Lee did that dive after Raw, and like the cameras went to dark, like it went to commercial right after he did that dive off the apron. But just Riddle against AJ Styles in the ring in NXT. I don't know. He's an incredible athlete. I know not too many people like him as much, but I think he's different. I like his character, but I don't want to see them pair up so much. I think they can stand on their own, but I mean, just seeing Keith Lee and the Bro on the main TVs, I was really, that was like a highlight for me. It was just good to see fresh faces, I guess, on doing different stuff, doing different things, not the same thing in the same place all the time. So with those invasions, I think those two I just keep going back to. They stood out to me.
You know what? I'm gonna go opposite of you, Mike, because I mean you kind of stole what I thought was probably that moment of the week for me. Something that I think would really make this interesting. How come we don't see? I haven't seen Johnny Gargano in like 2 weeks.
Oh, because Finn Balor took him out.
Whoop-de-doo. What would a Pele kick?
Apparently the DDT on the steel ramp. I don't. They're playing that storyline, which, you know what? It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. Keep Balor and Gargano away from it. Let them do their thing.
All right. That being said, you know who else is missing in action, which I think would really make the NXT roster look more formidable? Because when you look at a lot of they're fucking small, dude. I mean, when you saw Tommaso Ciampa against somebody like The Miz, and Ciampa looks small.
Yeah.
Against The Miz?
Yeah, that's why he's got to stay on NXT.
Why is Walter not involved in this?
We talked about before I answer. So, Cooter, from what I'm getting right now, so your highlight basically is the NXT evasion.
Yes.
Am I getting that? Okay. Yeah, and I truly enjoyed it, and I think I brought that up to you guys. Where's Walter? But then I understand that was like on Friday was a last minute thing. But I think they do need to bring in a guy like Walter to kind of just give you that size to just let you know that NXT isn't fucking around.
You know what? He might end up showing up because you still got some time before Survivor Series. So could you imagine, like, okay, so you're gonna have a Brock Lesnar Bray Wyatt match. Obviously, it's gonna happen.
No, they advertised Lesnar versus Mysterio.
Fuck all that. You know what? This would have been perfect. This really would have been something. Can you imagine him and the Fiend, and then just all of a sudden Walter coming out there and just chopping the shit at anybody? I mean, the way that Baszler did. I mean, just the fact that it makes that roster look like, man, we got some beef to it too, not just some fucking small little indie dudes.
I got a match for you, Cody. You're going to love this. So we're going to do cross-brand promotion right here. So what if, representing NXT, you got a guy like Walter, and you put him in a ring against representing Raw, you got Samoa Joe.
I
don't think Samoa Joe is going to be ready in time because I know he had a bummed hand. I'm not sure if he's going to be medically cleared, but how a hard-hitting match that would be.
Oh, my God. But see, that's the thing. Sometimes there's just certain big dudes you think would really work well together, and sometimes it's just a big letdown. I don't know but you got 2 ring generals in there, so I don't know if that's going to be. I don't know, but I like that idea. And the guys with the secondary titles, could you imagine an AJ, a Nakamura, and a Roddy Strong triple threat?
Oof.
Woo! Oh my God, I'm getting moist just thinking about it.
Well, go back to that Rey Mysterio Brock thing, guys, real quick, because the Fiend is the Universal Champion. Brock quit SmackDown to go to Raw because they just had the draft change and all that stuff, so I guess he had to do something like that. But the WWE Championship is on Raw. The Universal Championship's on SmackDown. And your champions have always been booked, I feel like, to be unbeatable. How the fuck do you get that Universal Championship off of the Fiend in a regular match? Is he ever going to have a regular match without any red lighting? And, even Brock, granted, that fight with Kane, yes, realistic. Seth has beat him twice, okay. But everything else, your champions, both of your champions, I can't think of a match to where I'm like, oh, well, this guy beat him and he beat so-and-so and whatnot, so I think he has a chance to where Ray versus Brock, what glimpse of hope do I feel like Ray has against Brock? Unless this is a no DQ, chairs, whatever kind of match, then okay, but there's no way the fucking, Ray versus Brock, that's like a fucking squishing an ant kind of a thing. And then, all in all, guys, your opinions on the champions, I feel like that there's no believable way to get the belts off them. Yes, Seth has done it, and it was okay, but they're both in that same category of how the hell do you get these belts off these guys to where you make it seem believable. I want to suspend my belief. I want to, see something that good, but these guys are being booked so wacky. Is it too wacky to be this unbeatable?
No. Because I think especially when it comes to Lesnar, with his size and his ability, people hate on Lesnar. Lesnar is really great at what he does. It's not just the fact that he stands there and lets somebody talk for him. He plays his part very well while he's standing there. He's not just, talk for me, and I'm just going to stand. He's somehow selling it, you know what I mean? But whoever beats him is going to be, a big fucking star. Can you imagine him against an Aleister Black? Or maybe just somebody who's going to be there for a while.
Somebody different besides Rollins again. Come on, you got to spread that love around.
If you got to build Brock up to be that unbeatable guy for the next guy who's going to take that belt off of him, But
tell me about the Fiend though with this whole thing, because I don't think I've ever seen anybody this ridiculous. I mean, Taker was one story in the 90s, but this I feel like is even double than what Taker was doing, to where just kicking out ridiculously fast, not even selling, being hurt a little bit sometimes. Is it on the same level, or is it just too ridiculous what he's doing with it?
I think it's way overdone. It's too much for me. I mean, it's one thing to no sell like a fucking luchador, but this is ridiculous. I mean, fucking, we're hitting you with chairs and fucking sledgehammers, and
I feel like we're watching like Friday the 13th or like Halloween.
Yeah, Jason just keeps getting up, dude. That's the perfect fucking analogy right there. I literally feel like, just when you think he's dead, he comes up with that machete and he's gonna fucking cut your head off.
I mean, are we gonna get to a point with that red light? Like, I'm already at that point when it was like 5 minutes into the match. I mean, like, he didn't have it for SummerSlam for his first match with Finn Balor, but then he had it with the whole Hell in a Cell, and then he had it for the next match. But like, how do you? I don't know. I can't. Remember Kane used to do it? He would just come out, chokeslam people, and that was it. But that was it. It wasn't like an actual match staying in the red light. Can we get out of the red light?
I hope they do soon, because it's terrible. I hated it. I hate it so much. It just takes away from the match for me. It doesn't add anything. It's not cool. It's not edgy. It doesn't make it scary, even though it was in Saudi with serial killers out there. It just didn't do anything for me.
And I mean, he has to have matches every week, right? You can't make him like a Brock, right? I mean, both of your world whatever main event champions are just wrestling once a month or every. I mean, I know we talked about it a long time ago. Like Hogan didn't fight every week or whatever, but I feel like this day and age, you have to have your main champion on the show to help bring that program along, right? I mean, carry that,
Well,
tote
that's
the
the
wagons.
difference. You said Hogan didn't wrestle every month, but it's not like he wouldn't be going to the barber shop and cutting an interview, or
sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We got to a point where we were going weeks without seeing Paul Heyman or Brock Lesnar, and it was ridiculous. Yeah. We're at least, you know what? We might get a Firefly Funhouse, once a week or something fucking entertaining, because I mean, it's a very complex character. It's not just the Fiend. He's got just Bray Wyatt and his little group of retarded fucking puppets.
Well, how about this? Give me one guy. Who do you think's going to be the guy on each brand? Who's going to be the next WWE? Who's going to be the next Universal? Just by looking at what brands they're on now, does anybody come to mind at least for maybe who you want to win, as opposed to who do you think will win it? For like me, for like the WWE Championship, I want to see that go to like Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is on Raw. Even though he spent the whole program trying to get Shane off of SmackDown, they fucking moved him to Raw. So, I don't know. I would like to see a Kevin Owens beat Brock, or somebody different. Like, who could be different on that show?
Was he even on Raw this week? That was the other thing.
No, he wasn't.
It's mind-boggling. We built him up, and that's like a fuck you for not going to Saudi, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But we can have Sami Zayn do fucking jobs to goddamn fucking scrubs from NXT, where the crowd is looking. I thought these were developmental guys, and here we are chasing fucking Sami Zayn down. Matt Riddle and Keith Lee. I mean, I love the segment, but I mean, come on, man.
Well, who do you think's going to take the championships off him? Who do you think's going to win? Who's going to be the next champion?
I could see a Samoa Joe. I could see an Aleister Black on Raw. For SmackDown, I could see a Roman. I could see a Braun.
Fucking Roman! I forgot he's on there.
Yeah, well, you know what? We've all been very happy. I've been happy. You know what? There's a lot of guys we're forgetting about. Bobby Lashley, how about that? How about a fucking?
I don't care for Bobby Lashley right now, unfortunately.
I don't either. But okay, what about a Drew McIntyre?
I was just gonna say that name. That's the guy they gotta go with.
For WWE?
I'm gonna steal the words of Mark Henry. Every time they bring up Drew McIntyre, he goes, "Grown ass man, Drew McIntyre."
Yeah.
Because he's the man that I think needs to take that WWE title and just shoot him to the stars.
When you said Roman, I got like that vomit taste in my mouth, because I'm like, fuck, they're just gonna they're gonna turn him into super fucking man and beat the Fiend because only he can, and I don't want, like, that's the thing is, like, I feel like he's past that right now. I don't want him to, like, build somebody else up. It's 2020 coming up. Like, give us a new face to wear that fucking championship. And out of these two guys, like I said before, I mean, why not give it to Braun? The dude can at least fit fucking semis. At least give it to another superhuman being or something. But
let me ask you this, Credo.
Yeah,
because
I'm getting heated over here about this.
Yeah, I'm very, very like. Here we are. We just put the belt on the Fiend, right? And he hasn't even had this belt a week.
I know he's not. We're recording it on Thursday.
You're already looking for the next title change. Let the fucking guy run with it. He's literally is a new guy with the fucking title. Who's gonna be the next guy? How about we let the new guy they just put on there fucking have a run? We let Kofi have it for 6 months.
Relax.
Slow down, bro. Fucking tug on your pecker once in a while. Learn to edge yourself. You know what I mean by edging? That's when you don't blow your load. You know, you're about to, but you just stop. You just relax.
And get your discount at Blue Chew. Use promo code AWP because if anybody's going to blow a load, it might as well be yourself. AWP, promo code. Boom. I don't know. Anyway.
God damn.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Okay.
So we saw the WCW invasion and then the Nexus invasion start off hot and then they just got buried. Do you guys have the same fears as I do that Vince is going to bury the NXT guys, or are we actually going to see something positive out of this?
It has to be positive. It has to be, because this, now that you have this other brand going against another company, you have to make them the dominant thing. It's like one of those things to where Roman doesn't need the belt. He's beyond the belt, right? Like Raw's beyond this win. SmackDown's way beyond this win. NXT needs it just to make them a verified, bona fide, triple whatever, third brand powerhouse. Like, they need to give it to NXT. If it goes to anybody else, it's fucking stupid. Like, they need to make it. I love Tommaso Ciampa's promo this week. Welcome to the A show. They always talk about going to being called up
to the
main roster. Welcome, and then he welcomed them to the A show. I thought that was brilliant. And that's, I don't know. Long story short, NXT needs it. They need it. They need it.
Especially in this ratings war, they desperately need a win.
Yes.
Well, you brought up the WCW invasion. That was Vince pissing on the ashes of WCW because he could. When you compare the Nexus angle, you're talking about people who they really consider developmental talent. On their first night coming in there and just wreaking havoc. You knew that wasn't going to last. They were going to let them come in hot and fucking cool them off quick. It's just a nice way to introduce them. I think they're literally looking at NXT as they want these people to be perceived as established stars. And if they deviate from that, I think it's going to be the biggest mistake. But we've seen them make it before, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
John Cena comes in and beats the entire roster.
Oh my goodness, I know. Well, either way.
Oh God, you know what? I got it, Credo.
What's that?
The best way to end this show right now is for me to tell you who's going to beat the Fiend. The greatest idea ever had.
Uh-oh.
Somebody get James Ellsworth on the phone. And I'm out, bitches. Peace.
AnotherWrestlingPodcast.com. Every fucking week. I won't be here next week. I'm going to Disney World. Thanks, Cooter. Fuck that one.
You get a vacation next week.
But tune in until the following week when we got Ken Shamrock. No BS. It's happening.
He's not happy about the BMF title, but you get to listen to that next week or
next week.
2 weeks.
Podcast.com. Yes. So, but guys, stay tuned because Terri Runnels is joining us again with Jonathan, who's going to sit down with her right now.
All right, welcome everybody. This is JB, and today we will be joined by one of the most legendary, one of the most incredible dare I say, one of the most beautiful, one of the original divas, if I may say so myself, the stunning Miss Terri Runnels. Terri, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's my pleasure. And I just for the record, I love Steve Credo so much. And I think if he asked me to like deliver a pint of blood, an appendage, or my firstborn, I might give it to him because he's been so good to me.
That's incredible. Well, I'm so happy that you're back with us again. We've got a lot to go over today, but I want to get right into this, and I want to talk to you a little bit. I want to ask you about what you're currently up to. You know, we get to talk to a lot of people, and you know, we talk about the past, we talk about kind of what the future holds for people, but I know you have some really exciting stuff that's going on, namely your live stream. So for anybody who's just tuning in to us or listening to you, what can you tell us about that?
I started it as a podcast, but I think I can connect, even though my fans and my friends on live stream know that I have a really hard time because I call it my smoke and mirrors when I put my absolute face on, like my eyes, my face, my everything. And it's difficult for me to give less than that. But like, for instance, tonight, I'll take my glasses off. Tonight, I am with you, and I only have a bit of my smoke on. And when I say my smoke, that is my eyes, and the rest of it is my face. Normally, I tan my body from the neck down, and so my face from the neck up is a totally different color. So because I just recently had a scare with skin cancer, I have not been tanning like I have in the past all my life. So long story short, and Jonathan, you'll have to bring me back because I just chased a rabbit and I don't know where I left your question, but yeah, bring me back really, really fast.
I just wanted to have you talk to us about your live stream.
Yes. Okay. So like right now I'm on with my live stream family. The way I was introduced to this is, to me, it is a very godly thing. If you're an atheist, I just put up my middle finger. No, I'm just kidding. I love everyone. But I was asked to do an interview with the Nuclear Vikings a while back, and I found out that it was started from someone named Bert, who was a professional football player, and he went through some stuff, some mental health stuff that was difficult and tough, and he created this entity. And when the first time, normally I charge people to do interviews, and I charged Bert and his group to do the interview, and they were told it would be 30 minutes, and I think it was like an hour and a half later, I was still on the phone with them, talking to them, and totally engaged with them, and just really appreciated and respected, what they were doing. And I had not ever really dealt with depression, mental illness, or anything until recently, and so it just resonated with me, and I not only respected and appreciated it then, but I do at this moment. And so, it was something that was really precious to me, and I love them. I appreciate them. When you get to know them on a personal basis, like each one differently, there's just such beauty in each person, and it just makes me proud that I am a part of it. And Bert, who is with Nuclear Vikings. He got me started on D Live as opposed to YouTube only. Because at the beginning of the year, I said to myself, you know what? I am not going to let fear like break me, and like fear had never been a part of my life, but it had become a part of my life. And I thought, you know what, screw that. Like I'm going to face fear like head on, and I'm going to deal with it. And you know what people think of me, whatever, like, and it was not that easy. It still isn't that easy. Like, I still feel like, even though I tell people a whole bunch of stuff about myself, I still feel like there's so much more that I probably should regurgitate and spit out and share. But at the moment, I'm doing the best I can with that, and I'm being as honest as I can with that. So I know I'm taking up your time, and you asked one question and you haven't had a chance to ask another one. So I'm going to shut up and let you ask a different question.
No, that's great. We're happy to learn more about the process. And so when you were, obviously, if anybody's listening to us on another wrestling podcast, or they're listening to you, they know that you were involved very heavily in the world of professional wrestling. And I wanted to ask...
Still am.
Yes, absolutely. And I wanted to ask a few things about kind of what your thoughts are on how women are perceived in the world of wrestling now versus when maybe you first got your start in your career in professional wrestling.
Completely different. Absolutely 100% completely different. I remember I have given a plethora of interviews where I've said, you know, women should be like the icing on the cake. If the cake is this thick and the icing is this thick, like, ugh, that's a terrible cake. But if the cake is this thick and the icing is like this, it's this beautiful marriage where it tastes great, it feels great, it's wonderful. However, that was long before there was this like surge of women that wanted to become professional wrestlers. And it is night and day back then to now. And they're just, back in the day, it used to be like this. For females anyway, either you were the daughter of a wrestler, that's how you got in. You were the girlfriend of a wrestler, that's how you got in. You were a female wrestler, you hoped you got in. Like it was just very difficult for women to permeate this entity called pro wrestling, right? And I felt kind of guilty, and I don't even think I've ever even said this before. I've always lauded my female colleagues that they wanted to be in the industry and that they trained for years and they busted their ass and they did everything they could and just to become a female professional wrestler. I never wanted to do that. I loved being a manager. I loved taking bumps from the boys. I never wanted to wrestle ever, ever, ever. But I always lauded my girls who trained and wanted to be wrestlers. When it was first presented to me by Vince that he wanted me to freaking wrestle, I begged him. I said to him, I said, Vince, anyone who loves what they do will do it with such a fervor and grace and excitement. Anyone who doesn't want to do that particular thing will fail. I don't want to do this. Please don't make me wrestle. I don't want to wrestle. And he smacked me on the arm and he said, you're going to be great. It's going to be great. Knock it out. And, so anytime, if you ever see me wrestle, ever, ever, ever on YouTube, on the WWE network, I literally was taught moves hours before I had to go live in front of millions of people. Imagine that. Imagine you were told whatever you do in life, that you're going to be taught something hours before millions of people are going to watch you live. Whether you succeed or fail, that's what's going to happen. And so I would get to TVs and I would be literally sick to my stomach waiting to find out if I was going to have to manage, which I hoped dearly that that's what I was going to have to do, because I love that. I love that with all my heart. Or if I was going to have to wrestle. And if I was told I was going to have to wrestle, 9 times out of 10, I would go upstairs in the arena and throw up somewhere. Like, I just made me sick to my stomach. However, I tried my best when I walked out of Gorilla. When I walked through Gorilla and onto the Titantron and out there, I tried my best. Like, I didn't want you to know that I was scared. I didn't want you to know that I was apprehensive. I wanted you to buy into the fact that I was just down for it and I was there for it and I was ready for it, which is just anything but the truth, right? Yeah. So anyway, it was just, it was very difficult for me. I give massive props to the females that literally have spent their years training and training and training and trying to get to the spot I was at that I didn't even want to be at. Like I wished I could have taken, like when they first told me, like, we want you to wrestle, I wish I could have taken imagine this is a gift, and I wish I could have taken it and said, I now bequeath this to you, this female wrestler, because you want to be a wrestler. I just wish that I could have bequeathed that to another female that wanted to wrestle another female. I just never wanted to do that. So that was a tough thing for me.
I find that especially in today's wrestling product, that's something that we're lacking. There's not a lot of managers and or valets. Is that something that you think wrestling could benefit from again today if they had more of that?
Absolutely. I think that is something that is missing in great quantity. Like we are, one of the best ways that Vince ever used me was to be a mouthpiece. And Dustin, at the time, I don't want to piss anyone off. At the time, Dustin was not a great talker. Dustin still is not a great talker, but he can bullshit his way through a great interview. It breaks my heart to see the last time that he was, I think, if not the last time, one of the last times that he was on air, he was like with John Cena, and it was so uncomfortable for me to watch because it was just so like, this is not good. I think the reason that I did well was that I didn't have a problem speaking, so I was the mouthpiece for the Hardy Boys, for Goldust, for Perry, like those, everyone that I ever managed, they needed a mouthpiece except for Raven. And ironically enough, and I respect Raven for his ability and his talent in the ring. He was the only person I ever didn't trust and respect in the ring, which is crazy. I didn't feel like he had my best interest at heart. Like every other person I'd ever worked with ever, like it felt like we were working together and we had a synergy and we cared for each other's, like we watched each other's backs, basically. But Perry was such a good soul in that response, or in that regard, not response, but in that regard. Like he would always take care of me in that sense. So, it was just, yeah.
We see these reunion shows when wrestlers come back and the crowd goes crazy, and you see somebody like a Jake Roberts or a Mick Foley or somebody like that who comes back, and the crowd doesn't get to see them necessarily on a huge basis, but they're still welcomed back with open arms. And it kind of seems like, for what I've seen and watching professional wrestling throughout my life, that the women seem to have a smaller shelf life. That may not be the case nowadays, but it was very rare up until a couple of years ago that you would see them bring back some of these females. And it's not like anything really changes. I feel like, you could get into a ring tomorrow and be just as good, if not better, as you were, just because it's like, for what I can imagine, it's like riding a bicycle. Those are some things that you don't forget. So why do you think that in, major companies or whatever, that women seem to have a shorter shelf life than their men counterparts?
Great question, and I believe that it's like everything in life. I will admit to the listening public that I am one of those people that older women do not look as sexy as older men. Older men seem to carry their chutzpah with them longer than older women, and I am a judge where that's concerned, and I'm a woman, so that's kind of like shame on me for saying that, but that's the truth. I think that, like, I'll show you this. Okay, so this is something. I've never been more white in my life. Like, I have tanned from the neck down since I was mid-20s, yeah. I never tanned my face, but tanned from here down. And I have not tanned in a while because I have a skin cancer that I am dealing with right now. But I feel like women, we end up looking older and haggard, and we just look worse than men. From a visual standpoint, and it sucks. Like, it sucks a bag of donkeys. But for me as a female, I am an aging female. I am an old fart in our business, and I don't like it. I don't like to see us looking old. You see the gray in my hair, right? Like right here. I haven't done. And then you see this. So this tells you, like, right here, the dark part of my hair is my natural red hair. And this part is like white and gray. Like, what in the hell? So it's something that it sucks to acknowledge, and it's hard to face as a female in the business, because you wanna remain, ever young and amazing to your fans, but you realize that you age, for whatever reason, you age quicker than your male counterparts, and they just, it's kind of like, I see Sam Elliott as a sexy son of a bitch, right? And he's an old fart. I see Terry Funk as an amazing human being, and he's an old fart. You don't often see females, or you don't often hear about females respected in that response. And so I feel like it sucks. It sucks, yeah.
It's interesting because it feels like, and a lot of people have said this, and that Dustin, or Goldust, he's been getting better with age, which is kind of what you were just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, are you surprised, or I don't know how to put it other than that. Are you surprised to see how long his career, because during the Attitude Era, if many of you know, it was every night of the week. You all probably didn't get many days off, and he'd been in the WWE, WWF for a very long time. Are you surprised to see him still going as hard as he is?
Dustin, there was a very, very dark period. I was with Dustin for 8 years, and I was married to him for 6, and we have a daughter together, Dakota, and she's freaking amazing. And Dustin, back in the day, before he got clean and sober, was it was not good. It was really not good. I never knew who I was going to either like. This is what I can tell you right now that I knew back then, and I believe today, and I will believe until the day I die. Dustin Runnels has a humongous heart. Like, he has a beautiful, humongous heart, and that's what I fell in love with about him. He was tortured by, I believe, mental illness and being on the road for so many days at a time, and having the boys mess with him because he was a greenhorn, brand new to the business. He was brutalized in that way, and all those things came crashing down on him, and to me, it was not fair to him. I loved him. I supported him. I fought for him, and I'm happy that today he has a wife that he feels 100% and completely connected to and energized by and fortified by, if that makes sense to you guys. But I will tell you this, that I love Dustin with all of my heart, in the sense that he is my child's father. And he's been, yes, there have been moments where he was not great. There have been moments when I was not great as a mother at all. I went down the rabbit hole that was ugly and scary and terrible. But I know that Dustin loves our daughter, and that I've never for one moment questioned. So I give him massive respect about that. And yeah, like, if I've said this so many times before, I'll say it again. If Dustin were to curse me out on the phone and tell me he hated my guts 1 minute, and then a minute later call me and say, "Hey, Ter, I need your help," I would be there for him in a heartbeat, because that's the way I love him. I love him as Dakota's father. I divorced him in 1999 in a way that a wife loves a husband. I divorced him. I haven't felt that way about him since, but I've loved him in a different way, and in an equal way. Because it involves our daughter. And granted, she's now an adult, and she doesn't need, mommy to pat her on the back or daddy to say, good girl, whatever. She's a grown adult. But it's still, she'll be my baby until the day I die. And she's the only child that Dustin and I have together, that I assume that he has. And yeah, she matters more than anything, and because of that, he matters more than anything. So yeah, I love and appreciate him.
That's really just incredible to hear. And professional wrestling, as somebody who's a fan, but you see all the dirt sheets and you see all that stuff, that it's people aren't as welcoming or civil as what you're saying, and it's refreshing because there are so many dark things about this business, and it's nice to hear this good side of it. So I appreciate hearing that. But I also want to talk a little bit about, your name is going to forever be tied to what was known as the Attitude Era. And for many wrestling fans my age, or maybe a little bit older, or maybe even a little bit younger, the Attitude Era is something that's still very ingrained in us, and sometimes we have the tendency of looking back at the Attitude Era and thinking that was the greatest time of professional wrestling. Obviously, a lot of that stuff would not fly today, but as someone who lived it and spent a lot of time during that era, what are just some of your overall thoughts? Like, was that the funnest time of your career? Were there things that you thought, I can't believe that we're going to get away with this? Like, what was your overall thoughts on the Attitude Era?
Great question. Great plethora of questions, actually. So I cherish those moments in so many ways. There are a few moments where I wish I was not associated with a storyline. We can get into that in a minute if you want to, but for the most part, I loved being trailblazers and like really pushing the envelope, as that's what WWF at the time wanted to do with us. My character came to me if you've heard me in any interview before about Marlena, it came to me as I was laying in our tanning bed in our basement while Dustin was on the road. I'm a mom. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Dakota was like, I think, a year and a half at this point. And I had been at my sister's. I had seen, she had this Barbie doll that was Bob Mackie, which if you don't know who Bob Mackie is, he's a famous designer. He did all of Cher's costumes, a lot of Carol Burnett costumes, very, very saucy, like costuming, right? And so there's this one Barbie doll that's called the Sun Goddess. And when I saw it at my sister's house, and of course she had it displayed like in all this perfection, I was like, oh my God, like that's what Dustin needs for his character, because he is this androgynous being. So I just came up with this character literally laying in our tanning bed, in my tanning bed, something I bought with my retirement money from Turner Broadcasting Entertainment. Thank you very much. Shouldn't have, but I did. Anyway, so yeah, I was like, oh my God, like this would be this great like dichotomy to Goldust. Like this would be so awesome. And I remember telling him while I was still laying in the tanning bed, like I'd just come up with it. I called him and he's like, yeah, that's great. I love it. Call Vince. I'm like, you call Vince. I don't work for, like, you're under contract. I don't work for Vince. You call Vince. He's like, nope. If you want to do it, you call Vince. So I was like, okay, son of a bitch. I called the main number and I was like, and I told them my idea, and Pat Patterson called me, and he was, God bless him, he was very diplomatic, and he said, we thank you so much for your thoughts and your ideas, but we're just not interested, but thank you anyway, and take care and goodbye. I hung up the phone, didn't think anything of it, went back to being mom, and I was at my grandparents' home in Brainford, Florida, when Dustin called me. He said, what are you doing right now? And I said, I'm at Gran and Granny's. And he said, well, pack your bags. They want to do your idea. That was the first thing I knew about them jumping onto my character that I created.
One of the things I would like to know is, you worked with a lot of the top talent, and if not all of the top talent during that time. Were there people that you really enjoyed working with and clicked with, specifically, like whenever you and the Goldust character would be in a program with somebody? Who were some of your favorite people to work with during that time?
Yeah, so absolutely. Mick Foley was a dear soul. Love him. Will love him till the day I die. He could probably kill like 10,000 people, and I would still say, God, he's just a good soul. God bless him. I just love him. Love working with him. Paul Bearer, love working with him as well, just to go kind of dovetail into the Mankind, that moment with Goldust, Marlena, Mankind, and him. I loved working with Shawn Michaels. That was always fun for me. I think one of the questions that you had posed to me in like an email, or that Steve did, was like, who did you want to work with that you never did? Shawn Michaels, in the sense of managing him. Like, I thought that would be a great talent to manage, so not to work against, because I did work against him with Goldust. But yeah, that would have been so much fun for me to have worked with him. He was just he was just a beauty. In terms of the way he worked, it was just such a fluid, beautiful way that he worked. I loved it. So yeah, I really appreciated working with. It's funny. Someone asked me earlier today, I think, about Undertaker, and I'm like, well, when I knew Mark Calloway, he was a tall, lanky, very odd redhead, and I gave him one of the worst haircuts he's ever had in his life. I did in WCW. Actually, yeah, at that time we had segued from NWA. He was now in WCW. Yeah, he was in WCW. And I think the botched haircut took place in Gainesville, Georgia. I'm not certain, but I do know that I gave him one of the worst haircuts he's ever had in his life. I was a makeup artist, not a hairdresser, and yeah, but even back then, it's funny that he was such a very quiet soul, and he just didn't give that much audibly, but you appreciated who he was, and the fact that he was that much of a quiet soul, I guess. Anyway, yeah. So
during the Attitude Era, it was all about this kind of blurring the lines of real and entertainment. And there was some tough stuff that you had to go through during that time with, untimely death of Brian Pillman, and even a little bit after that, the divorce angle that they did. Was there ever a time when you were like, ouch, that's too close to home? Or did you feel like that it was, par for the course?
Yeah, so I've said this many times before. I really loved the way that Vince Russo wrote for Dustin and wrote for Goldust and wrote for Marlena, and I feel like he was the main reason that we had success in the beginning. And however, segueing through. When he said to me, like, we want to do this angle where you're pregnant by Val Venus, and then you lose the baby, I was like, dude, like, I have a kid in school. The last thing I want her to hear from some other kid at school is that, oh my gosh, your mom was pregnant with a baby and she lost the baby, and that's your brother or sister. Like, well, no, that's just not cool for me. And I fought that tooth and nail, and I lost. Obviously I lost, because it was a thing. It happened. I thought it was like real bad taste. The same way I thought that the necrophilia thing with Kane was in bad taste, the same way I thought that the HLA crap, girl kissing girl, was in bad taste. That doesn't mean that I have anything against my gay friends and followers. It just means that if you are promoting something for a child, don't just give them some visual without explanation. I just didn't think it was fair or right. So, yeah, that was something that I didn't. I fought against and lost. Yeah.
Was there anything that either you proposed that was kind of left on the table, or anything that was, put out to you that just never came to fruition? Is there any angles that you kind of wish you could have done?
I wanted to work with Shawn Michaels in a managing situation. Like, so after Sherry left and was no longer a part of WWF at the time, I just thought it would be a great concept for me and Shawn to work together, that I was his manager, and work a program with Dustin. that just didn't come to fruition. I think he was very involved with Sonny at the time, and whatever they had going on, he just like couldn't see beyond that, or I don't know. But I loved the way that he worked, and it was just a beautiful, like it was a joy to be ringside and watch the way he worked. Same thing about Dustin, but Dustin was a bigger guy, and Dustin was still poetry in motion, but yeah, that's one thing that never happened that I would have loved to have happened.
You worked with some other people during that time. You worked with the other divas, the other women that were wrestling. We haven't brought up the names yet, but Sable and Sunny and Luna and all of them. And not so much with Luna, but there was, and to this day you hear a lot about that time frame, and there were some maybe issues with Sunny, or there's issues with Sable or whatever. But for whatever reason, your name has always stayed out of that. So what was your secret to kind of staying out of the drama? Because it's still a big part of the wrestling industry today.
Yeah. So I was the mother. I was literally the mother. And I've said this before in interviews where I would be. So let me go back. I digress a moment. When I initially started, it was just me and Sunny. We were the only two females in the company at the time. That was it. And then shortly thereafter came Sable. And they just did not like each other from the get-go. I have my disrespect for Sable, but I was not ever, I would just speak to her honestly and say what I respected, what I didn't respect. Sunny and her had this very, just like bite at each other kind of relationship, and I was in the middle. So they would not say to each other, like one would say, well, I did this weekend, and then the other one would go, well, I did so, but they wouldn't speak to each other. They were speaking to me, like as though I was the conduit betwixt the two. And yeah, it was stupid, but that's I was just mom. I was the mother. And, I was trying to teach Sunny, like, don't do this. Like, this will only cause you grief. Like, I would, would express to her, like, this is foolish if you do this or whatever. And she would follow me sometime, but like, she's a grown woman and she followed her own path, and yeah, it was just not necessarily the wisest one. To say that, I will raise my right hand and say I have not always followed the right path either. I've made some really bad mistakes in my professional career, and the sad part about that is that it was in an effort to help someone. So it's just you never know. We all go through things, and I'm happy that I could forge a career that was not based on drama for the most part of my life. So
you surely have had a Hall of Fame career. We can list all your accolades, but you had an amazing career that's still going to this day, and I'm wondering about that. There are some of your peers who are in the Hall of Fame from that time. Obviously, we think here at Another Wrestling Podcast that you are a bona fide Hall of Famer. If that day comes, and hopefully sooner rather than later, have you given any thought to the person that would induct you?
Yes. Immediately. I don't even have to hesitate. My child, because she is the product of this business. Like her grandfather, what an icon. Her dad, what an icon. Her mother, her uncle Cody, her uncle Tugboat. Like there's just so many connections to her life that make her the only one that should induct me. So yeah, hands down, my child.
Now you just mentioned, Dusty and Cody, and I've been skirting around this a little bit, but have you?
Don't skirt, dude. Don't skirt.
Okay.
Just come at me.
All right. So, have you spent any time watching the new product AEW? And if you have, what are your thoughts on it? And do you see competition with the WWE at this point, or do you think it's too early?
Oh my gosh, I'm very filled with emotion where this is concerned because I am thrilled beyond thrilled that AEW is making such a stamp in this market and in this world of professional wrestling. Like, this is the first time, I know many have tried before them, but this is the first time that I believe there's a shot at making such a stamp on the world of professional wrestling. I love that the way in which the AEW has functioned thus far has been wrestler friendly, and you would think that it would be smarter to be fan friendly versus wrestler friendly. But if you have happy wrestlers and if you have healthy wrestlers and if you have guys and girls that are completely involved in and that's their world, you don't have to worry about it being fan friendly. It's going to be fan friendly. So I am so proud of them. At the same time, let me say this: WWE, prior WWF, is still my family, and I love them with all of my heart. And I think that this is the best thing that could ever happen to them, is true competition. So do I believe that there's true competition? Abso-fucking-lutely. I believe that they better buckle their seatbelts because they are facing something that never faced before. That doesn't mean that I want them to fail. It means I want both to succeed, and I believe both will, and it makes me proud of both. And I'm getting chill bumps even saying it right now, because I truly believe that the more successful AEW is, the more successful WWE will be, and it is nothing but a win-win for our fans. So yeah, I'm thrilled all the way around.
That's great to hear. And what about you? What is your unfinished business in this crazy world of professional wrestling? What is it that you still want to accomplish here with your fans, with the business? Just what do you have left to accomplish?
To be as tall as 6 foot tall instead of being 5 foot tall. I don't know. Can I stretch my legs that far to make me that tall? I don't know. No, seriously. I'm at the point that, and I shouldn't say I'm at the point, because I've always felt this way. I've always loved helping other people. It sounds a bit cliche. I just want to help other people. Just let me help. No, I want to help those hurting, those in misery, those that really need help. And that's another reason why, what I do with the Nuclear Vikings on my DLive channel, which is my live stream that I do every Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's something that is cherished by me because I want to help and help heal. And if you come onto my live stream, which is the Cigar Scars Superstars live stream on DLive, I want you to feel comfortable. If you need to say shit that you're dealing with, that you are frustrated by, you're brokenhearted by, you've lost a loved one, you're depressed, whatever you are at that moment, like knowing that you can come on to my live stream and that you will not be criticized, you will not be characterized, you will not be hurt by the people around you that will encompass you. You'll only be supported by that is what is important to me right now. So I love it. So every Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I am on www.dlive.com/the Terri Runnels. So yes, that is where my heart is right now. And actually, and as you well know, all of my people are seeing and listening to what we're doing right now. So I love that.
Yes, and we want to thank you so much for taking some of that time today and spending it with us here at Another Wrestling Podcast. We thank you again so much for peeling back those layers. And I want to ask you one last question, and it's going to be a tough one. But if you had to just pick one moment from your career thus far as your favorite moment in the wrestling business, what would it be?
Damn. That's quite the question. Hold on. Let me think about it for 2 seconds. Let me say this to you. It's with one person, but it's two different moments. So I'll give you both, and then because I can't pick between the two. The first moment was when Joni came out of the crowd and choked me out. And like we talked about it backstage, and I just said to her, like, give it to me. Don't sugarcoat it. Like I want to feel the fight in me. So yeah, like don't hold back. And then the other moment was, and I guess it's more iconic because it was WrestleMania, and that was WrestleMania 13, where she shook me like a rag doll. And in the moment, I didn't feel the pain because of the adrenaline of being in front of that many millions of people at one time. Like I knew I had to let go and just give in to that moment. But the next morning was so brutal, and I could not even, Dustin was calling me. Dustin was in our hotel room at the lavatory, and he said something to me, and I went to turn my head to answer him. Like normally I would just whip my head to like look at him and say what, or answer him. And I went to answer him, and I could not move. I could not move my body. Like nothing would move. And I was like, holy shit, like this is crazy. Is this what they go through on a regular basis? And I guess that was the most iconic moment in my history of being in the business, because it was just a unique moment, if that makes sense.
For anybody who's listening today and they want to know more about your live stream, or they want to follow you on social media, what are the best ways that they can do that?
The best ways that you can do that is my only social media name is the Terri Runnels, which is TheTerriRunnels. And let me give a shout out to Twitter at Verified Twitter. When the 25th anniversary happened for Raw, I changed my Twitter name from, I didn't change the name, I just changed the it was the Terri Runnels, but I just changed the T in the to capital, the T in the Terri and the R in the Runnels, because I feel like you see that easier when those first letters are capitalized. And the minute I did that change, they took away my verified account. Like they unverified me because I changed 3 letters from lowercase to uppercase. So to this day, they've never changed it back. And I really hope that they will, because I can't even, like, how more positive can they be than to see me right now and hear what I'm saying and make to connect and go, oh, okay, that was not someone else. That was her that did that. Let's verify her again. Like, it just drives me insane. So yeah, I really hope that you guys will throw that out to them. And again, just it's the Terri Runnels. My live stream every Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday from 7 to 8:30 is on www.dlive.com/the Terri Runnels. So yeah, that's how you can find me.
We should get hashtag verify Terry trending. That's what we should be doing.
What the hell? Like, why do you unverify someone for capitalizing 3 letters? I don't get it. But anyway.
No, I really thank you again, and just thank you for putting your life and your body and your career out there for us to watch and enjoy. And I really hope we can get you on again sometime soon.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. It was a pleasure talking with you, and give Steve my love.
I will. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, ciao.
I'm going to ask you guys one question. You guys have to give me answers straight through. Okay. Out of all the shows this week, starting from Friday up until today, name one thing of your highlight of the week.
Ooh.
One thing that stood out to you the most. I'm going to tell you mine right now. Was that sit down between Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch.
I was literally thinking that.
I thought that was amazing. I don't even care if Bayley's in the match. That's the match I want to see.
That's a good one. I don't know. For me, off the top, I keep going back to Matt Riddle and what's his name? The Glory.
Keith Lee?
Glory. Yeah, Keith Lee. To where Keith Lee did that dive after Raw, and like the cameras went to dark, like it went to commercial right after he did that dive off the apron. But just Riddle against AJ Styles in the ring in NXT. I don't know. He's an incredible athlete. I know not too many people like him as much, but I think he's different. I like his character, but I don't want to see them pair up so much. I think they can stand on their own. But I mean, just seeing Keith Lee and the Bro on the main TVs, I was really, that was like a highlight for me. It was just good to see fresh faces, I guess, on doing different stuff, doing different things, not the same thing in the same place all the time. So with those invasions, I think those two I just keep going back to. They stood out to me.
You know what? I'm gonna go opposite of you, Mike, because I mean you kind of stole what I thought was probably that moment of the week for me. Something that I think would really make this interesting. How come we don't see? I haven't seen Johnny Gargano in like 2 weeks.
Oh, because Finn Balor took him out.
Whoop-de-doo. What would a Pele kick?
No, apparently the DDT on the steel ramp. I don't know. They're playing that storyline, which, you know what? It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. Keep Balor and Gargano away from it. Let them do their thing.
All right. That being said, you know who else is missing in action, which I think would really make the NXT roster look more formidable? Because when you look at a lot of they're fucking small, dude. I mean, when you saw Tommaso Ciampa against somebody like The Miz, and Ciampa looks small.
Yeah.
Against The Miz?
Yeah, that's why he's got to stay on NXT.
Why is Walter not involved in this?
We talked about before I answer. So, Cooter, from what I'm getting right now, so your highlight basically is the NXT evasion.
Yes.
Am I getting that? Okay. Yeah, and I truly enjoyed it, and I think I brought that up to you guys. Where's Walter? But then I understand that was like on Friday was a last minute thing. But I think they do need to bring in a guy like Walter to kind of just give you that size to just let you know that NXT isn't fucking around. You
know what? He might end up showing up because you still got some time before Survivor Series. So could you imagine, like, okay, so you're gonna have a Brock Lesnar Bray Wyatt match. Obviously, it's gonna happen.
No, they advertised Lesnar versus Mysterio.
Fuck all that. You know what? This would have been perfect. This really would have been something. Can you imagine him and the Fiend, and then just all of a sudden Walter coming out there and just chopping the shit at anybody. I mean, the way that Baszler did. I mean, just the fact that it makes that roster look like, man, we got some beef to it too, not just some fucking small little indie dudes.
I got a match for you, Cody. You're gonna love this. So we're gonna do cross-brand promotion right here. So what if, representing NXT, you got a guy like Walter, and you put him in a ring against representing Raw, you got Samoa Joe.
I
don't think Samoa Joe is going to be ready in time because I know he had a bummed hand. I'm not sure if he's going to be medically cleared, but how a hard-hitting match that would be.
Oh my God! But see, that's the thing. Sometimes there's just certain big dudes you think would really work well together, and sometimes it's just a big letdown. I don't know but you got 2 ring generals in there, so I don't know if that's going to be. I don't know, but I like that idea. And the guys with the secondary titles, could you imagine an AJ, a Nakamura, and a Roddy Strong triple threat?
Ooh.
Woo! Oh my God, I'm getting moist just thinking about it.
Well, go back to that Rey Mysterio Brock thing, guys, real quick, because the Fiend is the Universal Champion. Brock quit SmackDown to go to Raw because they just had the draft change and all that stuff, so I guess he had to do something like that. But the WWE Championship is on Raw, the Universal Championship's on SmackDown, and your champions have always been booked, I feel like, to be unbeatable. How the fuck do you get that Universal Championship off of the Fiend in a regular match? Is he ever going to have a regular match without any red lighting? And, even Brock, granted, that fight with Kane, yes, realistic. Seth has beat him twice, okay. But everything else, your champions, both of your champions, I can't think of a match to where I'm like, oh, well, this guy beat him and he beat so-and-so and whatnot, so I think he has a chance to where Ray versus Brock, what glimpse of hope do I feel like Ray has against Brock? Unless this is a no DQ, chairs, whatever kind of match, and okay, but there's no way the fucking, Ray versus Brock, that's like a fucking squishing an ant kind of a thing. And then, all in all, guys, your opinions on the champions, I feel like that there's no believable way to get the belts off them. Yes, Seth has done it, and it was okay, but they're both in that same category of how the hell do you get these belts off these guys to where you make it seem believable. I want to spend my belief. I want to, see something that good, but these guys are being booked so wacky. Is it too wacky to be this unbeatable?
No, because I think especially when it comes to Lesnar, with his size and his ability, people hate on Lesnar. Lesnar is really great at what he does. It's not just the fact that he stands there and lets somebody talk for him. He plays his part very well while he's standing there. He's not just, talk for me and I'm just going to stand. He's somehow selling it, you know what I mean? But whoever beats him is going to be, a big fucking star. Can you imagine him against an Aleister Black? Or maybe just somebody who's going to be there for a while.
Somebody different besides Rollins again. Come on, you got to spread that love around.
If you got to build Brock up to be that unbeatable guy for the next guy who's going to take that belt off of him,
But tell me about the Fiend though with this whole thing, because I don't think I've ever seen anybody this ridiculous. Taker was one story in the 90s, but this I feel like is even double than what Taker was doing, to where just kicking out ridiculously fast, not even selling, being hurt a little bit sometimes. Is it on the same level, or is it just too ridiculous what he's doing with it?
I think it's way overdone. It's too much for me. It's one thing to no sell like a fucking luchador, but this is ridiculous. We're hitting you with chairs and fucking sledgehammers, and
we're watching like Friday the 13th or like Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason just keeps getting up, dude. That's the perfect fucking analogy right there. I literally feel like, oh, just when you think he's dead,
Yep.
he comes up with that machete and he's gonna fucking cut your head off.
I mean, are we going to get to a point with that red light? Like, I'm already at that point when it was like 5 minutes into the match. I mean, like, he didn't have it for SummerSlam for his first match with Finn Balor, but then he had it with the whole Hell in a Cell, and then he had it for the next match. But, like, how do you? I don't know. I can't. It was like, yeah. Remember Kane used to do it. He would just come out, chokeslam people, and that was it. But that was it. It wasn't like an actual match staying in the red light. Can we get out of the red light?
I hope they do soon because it's terrible. I hated it. I hate it so much. It just takes away from the match for me. It doesn't add anything. It's not cool. It's not edgy. It doesn't make it scary, even though it was in Saudi with serial killers out there. It just didn't do anything for me.
And I mean, he has to have matches every week, right? You can't make him like a Brock, right? I mean, both of your world whatever main event champions are just wrestling once a month or every. I mean, I know we talked about it a long time ago. Like Hogan didn't fight every week or whatever, but I feel like this day and age, you have to have your main champion on the show to help bring that program along, right? I mean, carry that,
Well,
tote
that's
the
the
wagons.
difference. You said Hogan didn't wrestle every month, but it's not like he wouldn't be going to the barber shop and cutting an interview or
Sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We got to a point where we were going weeks without seeing Paul Heyman or Brock Lesnar, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're at least, you know what? We might get a Firefly Funhouse, once a week or something fucking entertaining, because I mean, it's a very complex character. It's not just the Fiend. He's got just Bray Wyatt and his little group of retarded fucking puppets.
Well, how about this? Give me one guy. Who do you think's going to be the guy on each brand? Who's going to be the next WWE? Who's going to be the next Universal? Just by looking at what brands they're on now, does anybody come to mind at least for maybe who you want to win, or, as opposed to who do you think will win it? For like me, for like the WWE Championship, I want to see that go to like Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is on Raw. Even though he spent the whole program trying to get Shane off of SmackDown, they fucking moved him to Raw. So I don't know. I would like to see a Kevin Owens beat Brock or somebody different. Like who could be different on that show?
Was he even on Raw this week? And that was the other thing.
No, he wasn't.
It's mind-boggling. We built him up, and that's like a fuck you for not going to Saudi. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But we can have Sami Zayn do fucking jobs to goddamn fucking scrubs from NXT, where the crowd is looking. I thought these were developmental guys, and here we are chasing fucking Sami Zayn down. Matt Riddle and Keith Lee. I mean, I love the segment, but I mean, come on, man.
Well, who do you think's going to take the championships off him? Who do you think's going to win? Who's going to be the next champion?
I could see a Samoa Joe. I could see an Aleister Black on Raw. For SmackDown, I could see a Roman. I could see a Braun.
Fucking Roman! I forgot he's on there.
Yeah, well, you know what? We've all been very happy. I've been happy. You know what? There's a lot of guys we're forgetting about. Bobby Lashley, how about that? How about a fucking?
I don't care for Bobby Lashley right now, unfortunately.
I don't either. But okay, what about a Drew McIntyre?
I was just gonna say that name. That's the guy they gotta go with.
For
I'm gonna steal the words of Mark Henry. Every time they bring up Drew McIntyre, he goes, "Grown ass man, Drew McIntyre."
Yeah.
Because he's the man that I think needs to take that WWE title and just shoot him to the stars.
When you said Roman, I got like that vomit taste in my mouth because I'm like, fuck, they're just gonna they're gonna turn him into super fucking man and beat the Fiend because only he can, and I don't want, like, that's the thing is, like, I feel like he's past that right now. I don't want him to, like, build somebody else up. It's 2020 coming up, like, give us a new face to wear that fucking championship, and out of these two guys, like I said before, I mean, why not give it to Braun? The dude can at least fit fucking semis. At least give it to another superhuman being or something. But
let me ask you this, Credo.
Yeah,
because
I'm getting heated over here about this.
Yeah, I'm very, very like. Here we are. We just put the belt on the Fiend, right? And he hasn't even had this belt a week.
I know he's not. We're recording it on Thursday.
You're already looking for the next title change. Let the fucking guy run with it. He's literally is a new guy with the fucking title. Who's gonna be the next guy? How about we let the new guy they just put on there fucking have a run? We let Kofi have it for 6 months. Relax. Slow down, bro. Fucking tug on your pecker once in a while. Learn to edge yourself.
Whoever wrestles
by edging,
just
when
bring
you
a
don't
shot.
blow your load. You're about to, but you just stop. You just relax.
And
relax.
Get your discount at Blue Chew. Use promo code AWP because if anybody's gonna blow a load, it might as well be yourself. AWP promo code. Boom. I don't know. Anyway.
God damn.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Okay.
So we saw WCW invasion and then the Nexus invasion start off hot and then they just got buried. Do you guys have the same fears as I do that Vince is going to bury the NXT guys, or are we actually going to see something positive out of this?
It has to be positive. It has to be, because now that you have this other brand going against another company, you have to make them the dominant thing. It's like one of those things to where Roman doesn't need the belt. He's beyond the belt, right? Like Raw's beyond this win. SmackDown's way beyond this win. NXT needs it just to make them a verified, bona fide, triple whatever, third brand powerhouse. Like, they need to give it to NXT. If it goes to anybody else, it's fucking stupid. Like, they need to make it. I love Tommaso Ciampa's promo this week. Welcome to the A show. They always talk about going to being called up
the main roster.
The main roster. Welcome, and then he welcomed them to the A show. I thought that was brilliant. And that's, I don't know. Long story short, NXT needs it. They need it. They need it.
Especially in this ratings war, they desperately need a win.
Yes.
Well, you brought up the WCW invasion. That was Vince pissing on the ashes of WCW because he could. When you compare the Nexus angle, you're talking about people who they really consider developmental talent. On their first night coming in there and just wreaking havoc. You knew that wasn't going to last. They were going to let them come in hot and fucking cool them off quick. It's just a nice way to introduce them. I think they're literally looking at NXT as they want these people to be perceived as established stars. And if they deviate from that, I think it's going to be the biggest mistake. But we've seen them make it before, so I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
John Cena comes in and beats the entire roster.
Oh my goodness, I know. Well, either way.
Oh God, you know what? I got it, Credo.
What's that?
The best way to end this show right now is for me to tell you who's going to beat the Fiend. The greatest idea ever had.
Uh-oh.
Somebody get James Ellsworth on the phone. And I'm out, bitches. Peace.
AnotherWrestlingPodcast.com. Every fucking week. I won't be here next week. I'm going to Disney World. Thanks, Cooter. Fuck that one.
Get a vacation next week.
But tune in until the following week when we got Ken Shamrock. No BS. It's happening.
He's not happy about the BMF title, but you get to listen to that next week or
next week.
Another 2 weeks.
AnotherWrestlingPodcast.com. Yes.